Welcome to the Mind of Business Success podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Cramer. Our guest today is Petia Kolibova. Did I do that right? Fix it
Very
for me.
close. It's very close. Just leave it there. I like your version better. It's very close. You see, I will get to change that last name. I'm telling you.
Well, I love how gracious you are about my inability to pronounce that correctly. So that, my friends, that is a beautiful soul right there.
Thank you. It's just like we cannot get caught up on little things. Like I'm always in awe when like you talk to someone and you want to be like nice and you tell their name and they're like phrase and like, no, and they tell you like different. I'm like, okay. It's like, okay, like we have probably different priorities, but okay. It's like, I'm not stuck up on a little things and pronunciations and names and whatever, it's like, it's how person is treating you, how you feel in their energy. And you just, you're so thoughtful to even like care. So it's beautiful. And so I'm like, I don't care.
Well, Petia is unapologetically abundant. She is the podcast host of Unapologetically Abundant and an amazing, amazing woman. So we're going to talk about being unapologetically you. So maybe it was just divine that I mispronounced your last name.
Like
because now you can help me demonstrate how I can be unapologetically imperfect. So welcome to this show.
Thank you so much for having me, Alicia. And I feel like it's just really about being unapologetically you. And that doesn't mean to be like egocentric or arrogant and not care about people. I personally care so deeply about my people that I'm not going to waste my time and energy on things that really don't matter or people who don't align with me. And it took me decades. It took me decades to learn that when you really step into that authenticity, that trueness, that genuinity of who you really are. And, like your name doesn't define you. Your title doesn't define you. You know how many times I changed my title? Like when people ask you, so what do you do? I'm like, well, good luck with that, to putting me in a box and trying to put me a label, So it's really about allowing yourself to be you and what is coming up for you with, of course, with the respect and love. But that's how we really create opportunities, the abundance, the connections, because you're true to who you are instead of trying to be who you think people want you to be, because that will change depending on their mood and the environment.
That's powerful. There are a lot of people who are trying to fit into nice little boxes. And it is so incredibly disempowering. So now we're not saying that there is anything wrong per se with calling yourself XYZ. If you're a dentist, you're a dentist. If you're a coach, you're a coach, right? But it doesn't define you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Because we are sometimes like so stuck, like when women come to me, when I'm working with people and, like I specialize in working with women. I have a couple male clients too, because I'm really here to help others to align with their purpose and create an impact. So I, work with different entrepreneurs, coaches, healers. And when they come to me, sometimes they're so stuck on like, I don't know what to put, like, like as my title, because I do this. And they get so stuck, they forget to serve first. And then you will figure it out what really feels aligned with you. Like I was woman's coach, transformational coach, life coach, mindset coach, business coach, spiritual, like so many, of course, like I'm a coach, but like, what do I do changes also, like as I'm growing and transforming, my business changes, So like you said, when you do something, it's good to tell people that, like, don't come to Petia with a broken teeth, she won't help you. But you can come with a life or mindset or business questions, So it's good when we can tell people who we are being and what are we creating right now. But don't let yourself to be paralyzed, like, oh, I have to finish this, like, to be able to serve others. Like, so many women come to me and I was like, oh, I have to have like a coaching course or whatever. I was like, but can you be serving now already? The course, it's more for you so you can go deeper with your clients. But so very often we already have the life experiences, the business experiences that we have uniquely learned and are uniquely qualified to teach and share and monetize.
So you help your clients to really feel into what their purpose is, that meaningful work that they are able to do in this world. And that obviously then involves growing financially. And there's, I'm sure, a lot of obstacles that you're helping your clients through in both of those sort of key areas. So I'd love to talk a little bit about that, because regardless of what industry someone is in, it is not uncommon for people to be questioning their self-worth and their sense of value in the world. And obviously, a lot of people have hangups around money. And so from your perspective in working with your clients, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what are some of the things that you're seeing people frequently bumping up against?
Mm-hmm. I love that. And you kind of mentioned it there. It's like the feeling of worthiness, like really understanding that you are very special and unique, and it's something that I had to work on myself too, because when people want to like start working with me, I had like major imposter syndrome. I don't have my life together. I don't have my relationships together. How can I be helping and serving anyone? But it's like really realizing that there's always someone who is just a couple steps behind you. And it's something that I see in my clients. They want to do things like perfectly and make sure they say the right thing at the right time. And I'm like, it's not about that. It's like you can pose the perfect pose at the perfect time, but your heart, your energy, it's not in it. People will feel it. It's so funny. I was just talking with one of my clients a couple of days ago, and she was like, I like working hard for my money. I'm like, do you? I like to say that the less I work, the more money I make. She was like, oh, that's a good one. I'm like, yeah, you really don't have to work hard. I'm not saying that you will lay on your couch every day and all day and do nothing and money will come to you. It can happen too, right? But most of the time it's just like the old habits and the old beliefs that we are having. I'm like, is that really true? Do you really like to work really hard? What if I give you here's $1,000? I love you and I love your work, and here, just take it as a tip. Would you take it? She was like, I think so. But she was like confused. I'm like, me, give me 1,000, 10,000. I don't care. Like, you want to appreciate me, appreciate me. But I learned on my receiving and trusting myself. And so very often when we're in business, and it doesn't matter if you're making $60 a day or $600,000, it's like we still have all these doubts, like imposter syndrome, comparing ourselves to others, thinking we're not special, thinking that we don't have what it takes. Or, it's people think that others are afraid of failure. And I think that I'm really seeing people are more afraid of success. They're afraid that when they're successful, that more money for problems, that they won't have a time for family, they won't have a time for fun. So it's all these limiting beliefs that we have adopted from our parents or our environment, and we still live by them. So it's super important, no matter where you're on your journey, to check in with yourself, like really look at the results you're getting in your life and in your business, and ask yourself, like, am I happy with this? Is this good? Is this good direction? And if not, well, what led me here? What thoughts was I thinking? Like, what beliefs, what habits created this? We have to take a radical responsibility. And looking at that, it's how was I feeling? Because when you really embody your truth, when you're unapologetically you, it's like you're magnetic. People can feel your energy. It's like the person who walks into the room and it's like, everybody looks, because you can like feel them, they own the room, versus somebody who walks and you don't even see because they're like a little mousy and they're afraid they will bother someone or they will be too loud, like still working through their journey, you know.
Right as you were saying that, I could feel a couple of people cringe
Mm-hmm.
because there are a lot of people who are afraid to
Mm-hmm.
be seen. They are afraid of people's judgment, and they're dealing with those unresolved self-worth and self-esteem issues. And that has a very practical effect on someone's success, but it also has that sort of vibrational effect as well. So, like you just mentioned, we can feel what someone is projecting, and it influences how we respond to them. It influences whether we're going to strike up a conversation, whether they're just sort of the awkward one and we're just going to kind of allow them to be their awkward by themselves. And it's interesting because we've all had this experience where when you're near someone who feels really uncomfortable, really awkward, it starts to make you feel that same feeling. And that's that vibrational transference. So now, when we're talking about being unapologetically yourself, you're really starting to let all that shit go and just embrace who you are. And sometimes that means a little bit of self-acceptance of the not so great things that are still going on in our lives. Mm-hmm. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, like if you don't embrace yourself in your fullness and wholeness, nobody will, right? Because it's like, like when we're talking about, for example, shadow work, right? Like really accepting all parts of you. We are accepting of ourselves when we are being the good girl or the good boy, right? When we're doing the right things, when we're serving others. But then if we're like bringing out the things that we feel guilty or shamed about, that's the challenge, because that's when we are starting to hide and we are feeling vulnerable and we are feeling scared. Because if you can embrace all parts of you, then nobody else on the outside matters. We get triggered by others, and it doesn't matter what kind of trigger it is, whether it's our clients, whether it's our business partner, whether it's just someone we're seeing online, we're getting triggered because we didn't embrace all parts of ourselves. Like, for example, I was telling my husband, like, I was looking at social media because we'll be hosting online experience, in the end of summer, and we're looking like for speakers and signing my speakers. And I was looking, there was one woman's Instagram and her teaching were amazing about like feminine and masculine and sensuality, and some of her pictures were like, how to say, like very daring. It was like not completely naked, but like very much exposed and very like sensual, and it triggered me. And I'm like, so instead of judging her, I sat with it and I'm like, I'm wondering, what is that meaning for me? Like, why am I getting triggered? And then I realized, well, you're not expressing yourself, as sensually as feels good to you because you're afraid that people will judge you, that you're trying to be sexual. And there's a big difference between those two, So I'm like, wow, this is so interesting. And it's like, we do the work and we think like we're past it, and then you're like, another slap in the face, like, here you are, did you really heal it, did you really overcome it, like there is so many layers to that. So I feel like really embracing that, like really embracing that you're never going to be done, and start like really looking into all parts of you. Don't accept yourself only when you're feeling good and when you're doing good, but all parts of you. I always say, like, what I love about my husband is he loves all of my dimensions. It doesn't matter if I'm acting like crazy 5-year-old or if I'm business badass woman, like I am loved and accepted for in all my dimensions, and I don't need his validation. That's a huge one. Like when you stop outsourcing your worthiness and happiness, that's when you are starting to feel like alive and full of life. Because we get to remember we came here for a specific reason, exactly as you are. The way you look, the way you speak, everything you have experienced, it made you to be uniquely you. So when you're trying to fit those small boxes, when you're trying to be the people pleaser and the nice person, sometimes it's for survivor, and I get it. For most of us, we don't live in survivor situations, right? It's not question of life or death. I have to behave or I will get, like killed, whatever. Most of us, it's not. But there is still that innate fear. If I don't belong, I will be cast out of the tribe and I will die. But you won't.
So many gold nuggets here. And I love that we're having this conversation because I see this trip up my clients a lot. This frustration that they have about being on the journey, as though if you work through something, somehow every aspect of all of your bad conditioning from early on is just magically going to transform and you're going to live happily ever like some fairy tale. And that's not the reality. We are all doing ongoing inner work. It's an ongoing, continuous process. Just the other day, I was at the grocery store and I live in Arizona. It is hot here.
I'm in Vegas, so I feel you.
So, if it's 100+ degrees, I'm going to be wearing jeans and a t-shirt. Now, from my previous life, I was quite rough around the edges. So I have a lot of tattoos. Now, most people looking at me, they're going to see more of the polished appearance, the suit coat or the cardigan or whatever it is. But you know what? When I'm not interviewing, for a podcast or doing an interview or even working with some of my higher end clients, you're going to see the tattoos. They're going to be out. And it's fascinating because I was at the grocery store and I was in the checkout lane. And for some reason, something, not even sure what happened, but something triggered an old insecurity, feeling less than because of my physical appearance. And it's interesting because I can be driving my BMW and I can feel like that somehow is sometimes protecting me from dealing with that unhealed part of myself where I'm still disapproving of myself. Now, why am I sharing this? Because I've been doing this work for a very, very, very long time. And I have achieved a tremendous amount of growth and success. And I'm still going through these things. And that's why I love having these candid discussions. What you see on someone's outside is not, that is them, but it's only a part of them. And they have their stuff that they're still feeling insecure about, the stuff that they're still working through, the stuff that they're still healing and growing and evolving. And we need to be able to be okay with that journey.
And it's so beautiful, because I love that you're so open and sharing your journey, because we never know who is listening and they're like, well, she wouldn't relate because she has it all together already, right? And when we can show people like, hey, I don't have it all together, it's not perfect, so it's amazing when you can really like come and show up and say like, hey, like it never stops, the evolving, the growing, and the embracing all parts ourselves. Like it's just this innate desire. We all want to be loved. We all want to be seen. We all want to feel like we belong.
So true. So true. So this is a perfect time for me to ask you the big question, the question I love to ask all of my guests, because I have these incredible people like yourself who are here. You're doing amazing things in your business and in your life. And this is an opportunity for us to help those who feel like they are maybe not cut out for the good life. to see friends, we're all overcoming stuff. So are you willing to share with us just one? I'm sure there are many. We all have many, but maybe just one mindset obstacle in your business that you've had to overcome in order to get to where you are today.
I feel like the one that comes to my mind right now, it's like the belief that I'm not special, because when I entered into the coaching industry, I look at myself, I'm like, well, there is already manifestation coaches, there's already mindset coaches who are successful. Like, why would somebody work with me? So I had to remember and remind myself that, each and every one of us, it's perfectly made for our purpose. The way I speak, the way I am, it will resonate with different kind of people. And even if they would be following them, and some of them maybe worked with them in the past, who am I today? It's perfect for my people. So that made a huge difference, because instead of just like pushing and working hard and proving myself, I realized that the perfect people are perfect fit, and you don't have to be proving yourself and like showing up. When you show up being yourself, they will be magnetized to you.
I love that. Beautiful. All right. So there are people who are going to be magnetized to you and the work that you do. So we have to let them know how they can connect with you.
I love that. I just love how you always like use, what we're talking about. It's such a beautiful flow you're creating, Alicia. So my favorite way to connect is the podcast that you have mentioned before, Unapologetically Abundant. I have a like quickie episodes, because I always say quickie sometimes better than nothing. And then I have interviews with the guests. And then the other place, it's Instagram. I love being on Instagram. I'm the one, like, of course I have assistant, but I'm the one who is replying all the DMs. It's important to me to stay connected and for people to really feel seen, heard, and understood. So that's why I'm there. So those would be my two favorite places.
Perfect. All right. Any final parting thoughts that you feel inspired to leave us with?
I feel like I would love for everyone to remember they're a miracle, like without the odds that you were born and that you are where you are today. So even on the times that you're doubting yourself, or it seems like it's really hard to push through life, just remember to keep going and remember how special you are.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Petia. This has been a fantastic conversation, very high vibrational.
Love it. Alicia, thank you so much. I love what you're teaching. I love what you stand for. And I love when you're being so beautifully unapologetically yourself.
Well, and thank you to all of our listeners for letting me be imperfect and for letting me share these incredible guests with you. If you have not already subscribed, please make sure you do so. And until next time, we will see you in the next episode.